What is something you cannot imagine paying money for, but apparently other people do? Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the Vancher channel. Also, please share your thoughts on this video in the comments. Let's get started. Story 1. Paying other people to open Pokemon packs seems to be very popular right now. I would never do it, haha. Story 2. These streamers that stuff their face whilst you're staring at their phone, and people give them money for that. Apparently, most of them don't even have to work because people give them enough to live on. What? Story 3. The rush order option in DoorDash. Extra money so you can choose to believe it's arriving quicker than it would have. Answer. Talking to a guy recently who delivers DoorDash, and he basically said that there's two general types. People who have so much money they don't care, and people who have no idea how to manage their money. Examples from the people who can't manage their money. 30 for one cookie from whichever trendy cookie it is now, delivering 25 lunches to middle schools, and seeing a pile of long since delivered lunches petrifying in the foyer, etc., etc., etc. Story 4. Televangelism. It's a form of legalized gambling, but you're betting on the afterlife. Giving a snake oil preacher $2,000 is an insanity I can't comprehend. Answer. I used to work in nursing homes, and they always had on some infomercial stuff on early mornings. I saw some jackass selling miracle holy water, and testimonials of people who won money or cancer went away. It was so disappointing and sad, but also at one point hilarious because they didn't tell you how to use the product. Someone literally said, drink it or wash yourself with it. Whatever you got to do, just use it. And I'm thinking to myself, rinse your mouth with it or give yourself an enema. Story 5. Not only paying a shoot ton of money, but also waiting in line for hours, if not overnight, for a new colorway for a pair of sneakers. Story 6. Water. Buying bottled water in places where you're lucky enough, in a global sense, to have safe tap water is ludicrous. Answer. My wife does this. Recently, she got the idea in her head that bottled water is better for you to drink than towel water or even well water. Here in WA State, we have Aomi, the best water in the fudge world. She chooses to drink microplastics in filtered tap water from a plastic bottle versus filtered unadulterated well water. Why would you trust water from a large corporation that I'm sure lobbies with the government and probably doesn't have consistent water purity levels across distribution bottling plants versus something you know is safe and pure? There is no arguing with her. It's insanity. Story 7. Paying someone thousands to hang Christmas lights on my house. I mean, I get that it looks great, but I'd rather go on vacation with that money. Story 8. Those mobile game gems and coins? Like you're literally paying real money for fake currency that does nothing outside the app? My coworker dropped 50 on Candy Crush last month, and I'm still processing that. Answer. I used to think this way as a F2P player on all mobile games. Then I realized I was going out and playing Pokemon Go for 2-3 hours straight sometimes. Just having a good time, sometimes with friends and my son too. I could spend 15 and get loads of stuff to make that 3-hour experience better. I could do the same thing by going and watching a 1.5-2-hour movie, or spend the same if not more on many other experiences. I see no difference. Story 9. Nails. I'm study darting and have only gotten my nails done maybe 3 times. Once was for my wedding. So many people get them done regularly. Answer. For me, I have dermatillomania. I pick until I either rip off the nail or my cuticles are a bloody mess. So I would get my nails done once a month. They'd last 56 weeks with gel. I didn't pick, saw the same person friend for 10 years, but I have been cutting back on spending in general and haven't had them done since July, and I've gotten a lot better managing the OCD anxiety. Story 10. We are living in a time where people won't pay $5 to support a small business, but will drop $200 so a stranger on the internet can pretend to notice them for 30 seconds. It's wild how the actual product isn't the content. It's the feeling of being seen. Story 11. Food delivery apps. People got me a couple gift cards after I broke some bones and was laid up. It was convenient a couple times, but I'll never do that on my own. Everything is marked up, fees, tips, etc. Story 12. Autographs, celeb photos, all the silly TikTok live gifts, basically any sort of parasocial celebrity worship. Story 13. Paying money to streamers that are just playing video games or chatting away. That whole phenomena has completely gone over my head. I cannot understand why people enjoy watching that, let alone paying money for it. Answer. It's just a new way to pay directly for live entertainment. Have you ever liked a local band? Bought tickets, merch, so they could afford to keep doing what they're doing, then you rock up to see them again often and keep enjoying it? Same goes for theater improv groups, buskers, cabarets, whatever else. You want live entertainers to keep doing what they're doing so you can see them next time? Compensate them for their time. Story 14. Streaming service with ads. If I don't watch it enough to be worth the no ads price, then I don't watch it enough to keep paying for it. Story 15. Same-day delivery. Unless it's something vitally important, I'll wait a few days and pay less on delivery charges. Story 16. Luxury handbags. I mean, I get paying money for a handbag, but I don't get paying $35K for a handbag. Story 17. There's always that one gas station that's like 50, 60 cents per gallon, more than all the other stations around it, and there's always at least one car there pumping gas. Story 18. Status symbol cars that cost a fortune to maintain and still don't run as well as a darn Honda Civic. Story 19. Purebred dig. Makes no sense to spend thousands on a purebred that's probably going to have way more health problems than some mixed breed dog from a shelter. Answer. I don't really see the point in it either, but my wife absolutely insisted we get a Dalmatian when I wanted a mutt. The dog was $2,500 about 5 years ago. We already had a lab at the time, so the Dal was our second dog. Our lab got lymphoma, and by the time we found out she was too far and we had to put her down. Now the Dalmatian is our only dog, and I absolutely love this Fudge dog. He is such a cuddler, lovey-dovey dog who just yearns for affection and always wants to be by your side and give you his love to the fullest extent that he can. He's so cute and sweet. He's great with our 2-year-old and seems so interested in our newborn baby. He is just happy to exist and be part of the family. My wife, on the other hand, is constantly annoyed by him and so afraid he's going to bite one of our kids. But I've seen our 2-year-old climb on our Dalmatian and a couple times pull his tail or step on the dog's feet, and he does not ever have a negative reaction toward the children. Story 20. Calf, pec, cheek, chin implants, filler and Botox on people with no wrinkles, hair extensions past your jerk, extra long fake nails, $1,000 skin routines for women in their 20s with no skin problems. Story 21. Fees to live in an HOA that tells you what you can and can't do with your bought and paid for private property. I really don't understand some people SMH. Story 22. Holiday clothing. Shirts with a Thanksgiving theme or a Christmas theme, etc., that you can only wear once or twice a year. Story 23. Food delivery using services like Uber Eats, DoorDash, etc. I get delivery, but only direct from the restaurant because I don't want to pay an even higher price. Story 24. Having someone else pick up my food from a restaurant. I have never seen the appeal in paying double plus a tip to get cold food an hour later. Story 25. Microtransaction in video games, pre-peeled fruit, live gifts on live streams, bottled air, luxury pet items, buying water people have showered in. I'm sure there are more things out there that I'm not aware of. But these are some things that I learned about, and I am absolutely will not spend $1 on. Story 26. Simple home repairs. If you follow the directions, most of them are trivial. In addition, it is very clear when you do something incorrectly. But people are scared to passing that they are going to burn the house down or flood it. Story 27. Bottle service. You go to a bar, overpay for a bottle of adult beverage and make your own drinks. Why the hell would you go to a bar with bartenders and make your own? That's like going to a steakhouse, paying top dollar to buy their steak, then cook it in the parking lot. Don't get me wrong, I love a rube because they think bottle service or paying for a cabana poolside somehow makes them feel self-important. Story 28. Those top-tier phones. Some people love to pay like $2,000 for a phone. I'm screaming if it costs more than $50. Story 29. Getting tipsy on fancy drinks. Adult beverage in restaurants and bars is insanely expensive. I could buy the entire bottle for $20 or get one of those with some fruit juice and a cocktail umbrella for $20. Story 30. Those places you go to that stretch you out. Probably one of the easiest things to do by yourself or from a YouTube video. Story 31. A 6 latte. Just kidding. I'm waiting for one right now as I'm typing this. My actual answer is really expensive shoes. I like clothes and I can appreciate a shoe being cute, but I've just never cared about the brands for shoes. Story 32. Designer shoes, purses, sneakers, clothes that cost 10x more than a functional version of that same item. Story 33. Reddit awards. Why would anyone buy those? Why am I trying to make Reddit more profits after they went public, advertise ICE, and shitified the whole platform? Story 34. Gambling in any form. It's just a scam that specifically target people who become addicted, and it ruins people's lives. Story 35. Paying a month's or 2 months rent to some shoot person who helps you find a place even when apps exist. Or huge percentage to broker if you're buying. I think this industry should be abolished. Story 36. Exorbitant prices for a pet. The only money I'd pay to get a pet is accept the adoption fees at the shelter. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I ain't paying no breeder literal thousands for a dog or a cat. I'm not based in the U.S. Every pet I've had found me, so I've never really paid for a pet. Story 37. Destroying your looks, aka lip fillers. I just can't believe people pay huge amounts of money to make themselves look like clowns. Story 38. DoorDash or Uber Eats. I want my food hot, 30 less expensive, and I want my order to be correct more than I don't want to leave my house. Story 39. I remember not being able to fathom paying money for bottles of water back in the 90s, but here we are, and it's become crazy normalized. Story 40. Parking at your work. I have worked the majority of my career at different universities and have found ways to avoid paying parking. I currently park about a mile away from my office and walk in. Sucks, but I avoid about $7,000 in yearly parking expenses. Story 41. Bottled water. You pay for it to come out the faucet. If you want cleaner water, then buy a filter or use the water dispenser on the fridge. I don't think bottled water is filtered as much as people think. Story 42. I can't imagine paying for any in-game purchases, especially skins for characters or weapons. Even worse is people pay money to buy fake in-game coins. Ridiculous. Story 43. To have Christmas lights installed on their house. I guess it's more that I can't believe how much they pay to have it done. Friend of the family does really well this time of year and says he charges between $1,000 to $3,000 per house. Story 44. I recently found out what some people spend on OnlyFans. Out the gate seems slimy, but I was flabbergasted. Story 45. Smash cakes for a child's first birthday. I live in a relatively mid-sized town. Why am I being quoted $50 for a 6-inch cake? Story 46. Designer anything. Why would I want to pay to be someone's billboard? And who would I be trying to impress? Story 47. I don't understand people who spend $1,000 on a design purse. It's a pocketbook, nothing more. Come on, that's insane even if you have the money. I think they are laying for the label more than the design. Story 48. This may be a hot take, but books. I get buying certain books, but there's absolutely no reason to buy every book you read, especially when you can borrow it from your local library for free. Story 49. I wish I could honestly write tipping for DIY OTC purchases, but I can't because I have out of some unclear form of guilt. I know it's a stupid thing to succumb to. Story 50. Substances. Fudge me, they destroy people's lives. I will never understand why people choose this for themselves. Story 51. People who buy skins in Fortnite. I know a guy who has over 2,000 in skins he claims when he sees them that he has to have them. Story 52. Strippers, prostitutes, but more so strippers. Like, why would I pay for the smells of a burger and fries, but not the food? Story 53. Botox, fillers, and plastic surgery are ridiculous in my opinion, especially for people under 35. All the fakeness is so obvious and ugly. Story 54. I refuse to buy pasta sauce. My homemade is 1,000 checks better. Also art, I just make my own and hang it up. Anything in a frame can be art. I physically can't buy it knowing I could make some for free. Story 55. I'm cool with pizza delivery, but I'll be darned if I'm paying a premium to have someone bring me Taco Bell or any place else that doesn't deliver on their own. Story 56. Pleasure with opposite intimacy. A right hand or the right toy if you are a woman is better than any experience someone else can give you. I promise. Story 57. Decorating my house. Why would you ever pay someone else to decorate your house for you? It's your house. Story 58. Professional organizers. Hiring someone to come either organize your things or unpack and organize your stuff after a move. Friend of mine paid a lady $200 an hour to help her unpack and reorganize her house after a move. Apparently, this is a profession and people pay a lot of money for people to do it. Story 59. Gifting, substinating money to big streamers on Twitch. Like, you get these streamers now that try to hype people up for some subathon they are doing where they just stream more than normal, and somehow thousands of people just start donating and gifting subs. Story 60. Food delivery, DoorDash, pizza delivery, etc. I've never used any of those services in my life. 44 yo. I pay for a car and insurance. It blows my mind that people pay for those delivery services. Makes me feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Story 61. A house cleaner, a DoorDash subscription, a car wash subscription, pretty much any subscription that isn't something I don't use almost every day, a private chef, etc. If I can do it myself better or cheaper, then I will. Story 62. Supermarket checkout magazines, particularly anything with a celebrity on the cover. Come to think of it, any product which is marketed using a celebrity, I'd pay less for that. Story 63. Blackberries. I grew up in Washington State. Western Washington in particular has invasive blackberries like the northeastern United States has Japanese knotweed and the southern U.S. has kudzu. My brother and I used to go picking blackberries in 5-gallon buckets, and my mom would make freezer jam and syrup and stuff, and we'd eat the things until it turned your poop green weird, maybe TMI phenomenon, but true. And we'd get so sick of frozen blackberries and blackberry jam and blackberry anything that we'd beg mom to buy some strawberry jam at the store or whatever. Had a goat specifically to keep the canes under control on our property. I saw old 2-story abandoned houses completely covered in blackberry canes growing over the rooftop, like the story of Sleeping Beauty, except blackberries. So, to this day, I will under no circumstances buy blackberries. The way I look at it, I've had my lifetime quota of them, and if I ever get a hair in my head that I want blackberry jam or jelly, I'll get one of my relatives to mail a jar of it. Story 64. Sneakers. Can't believe that some people blow so much money on such a crappy throwaway product. So dumby. Story 65. Car detailing. I do not understand this need to make my car look good mentality. Run good, 100 necessary, but IDGF what it looks like as long as it mostly looks like the profile of what I originally bought and gets from point A to B. But you do you, my guys and gals. If it brings you joy, go spend that money. I will just judge you oh so harshly if that means you give up food or some other critical survival requirement to have your car detailed. Story 66. Sports events, like live games. I don't like sports in the first place. The idea so many people do and are shelling out massive amounts of money to watch it live is unfathomable to me. Story 67. My driver had multiple deliveries. He was 20 minutes away, then he was 40 minutes away. My food was cold. Story 68. Getting food delivered to my house. It is stupid expensive and cold. I can get off the couch for $30 in service and deliver fees. Story 69. Gasoline, car insurance, outrageous maintenance kits, parking meters, parking and speeding tickets. Ditch your car and buy bicycles, people. I'd take all your cars if I could and give you a nice new shiny bike in return. You'd be mad at first, but you would all thank me later. Story 70. Expensive adult beverage. I worked in a club for years and have had it all. Not worth it. Don't understand it. Story 71. Extreme convenience such as DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Instacart. I refuse to pay inflated prices for food on top of delivery fees and then have to bribe a driver to pick up my food and hope that they actually bring it to me. I'll do store pickup from Walmart or other stores when they offer it for free. But again, I won't pay for a driver to deliver my groceries to me at my home, paying increased shelf prices, delivery fees, and tips. Yes, I know that these services are great for people who otherwise can't pick up their own food, but I'm not that person. And the majority of people in my life who use these services are simply lazy people who would rather pay the extra cost. Story 72. Video game cosmetics. I just don't get it. Like if there was one that was insanely funny that I would enjoy every time, maybe. But people spend so much on this stuff that lots of games don't even cost money to play anymore, BC. They can charge for cosmetics. Guess I will play for free in my basic skin. Story 73. Skins in a game. Really, any cosmetic feature in a game. It's a waste of money, and it's bringing down the industry for the rest of us. Story 74. A celebrity's autograph. The actor that played Bo, or Luke Duke, I get them confused, the blonde one I think, was in town and charging $60 for an autograph and picture with a fan and the General Lee. $60. SMDD. Story 75. Adult content. But hey, it puts food on the table for some people, so more power to the buyers and sellers, NGL. Story 76. Bottled water, or those giant jugs for a water cooler. I can see it's a necessity in other parts of the world, but tap water is literally safer and higher quality out of the tap in most places. Story 77. Honestly, bottled water, it tastes the same as what I get at home, and people buy it by the case like it is some luxury item. Story 78. Paying money to have anything delivered to your house because you're too lazy to get off the couch. I'm old enough to remember actually leaving my house to buy something. Story 79. Subscription software like Microsoft Office or Adobe Photoshop. Not just for the money reason. What if they roll out an update that breaks the way you use the app? Story 80. I have a hard time with all the professional skincare people do now. To me, it kind of seems like bullshit. It's mostly genetics, man. Also, there are so many horror stories with all the unqualified and unregulated aesthetics providers popping up everywhere. You probably don't need some girl blasting lasers and needles into your face. Don't smoke, don't sleep in your makeup, moisturize and exfoliate. Why on? Quit adult beverage, wear SPF, get enough sleep, and drink water. That's kind of all you need to do, emo. Not to be preachy, but quitting adult beverage entirely will do more for your skin in a year than all of the Botox and lasers and whatever else combined. Story 81. To stand in a ridiculously long line to pay a ton of money for some kind of food that is somehow deemed extra special. I can see paying 3 times as much for something if it's really 3 times better. Just for example, a fantastic hamburger is $75, where your typical excellent hamburger is $25. But I'm not paying $500 for a hamburger because it will never be that good compared to your run-of-the-mill excellent hamburger. Not doing it, and the few times I did, it didn't live up to the expectation. Story 82. Having the newest iPhone, like constant upgrades, WTF, if this 1000 phone doesn't last me for years, what are we doing? Story 83. Getting nails done regularly. Special occasions? Sure, once a week? Absolutely not. I do think there is value in it, but for me, no way. Story 84. DoorDash. So many people use it, and I just can't, for the life of me, find a justification for paying that much money to have fast food delivered to me. Like, is it even still fresh when you get it? That crap has about a 5-minute shelf life before it's inedible. No way. Story 85. Having your eyebrows done. I have a friend that has been going monthly for years. It takes exactly 5 minutes to do it yourself. Story 86. YouTube Premium. I already have a very stable internet connection, so offline downloads would be pointless for me. And while I prefer high quality, I can live without premium quality. On top of that, not only have I kind of accepted waiting for the skip ad button, I've found it would be much cheaper to watch YouTube on guest mode if I cared about my privacy. Story 87. Just below this post was paid $3,000 for this artificial lawn. Any fixing this? So that's my immediate answer. Story 88. Financial domination. Literally just enjoy spending money so you don't have any because you get off on it. Story 89. Political donations. Unless you are buying a politician, it's almost as stupid as donating to a church. Story 90. Microtransactions on mobile app games, especially when those types of games tend to shut down within a few years or stop getting updates. Story 91. Subscriptions for things that used to be one-time purchases. I don't need premium toaster for $4.99 a month. Story 92. Honestly, an Apple Watch. And this is coming from someone who loves iPhones and would even upgrade yearly, bi-yearly, to the newest iPhone way back then. I just never understood the point of an Apple Watch unless you were working a super professional high-stress job where you can't be on your phone at all times. Something like a nurse, doctor, maybe an EMT. Or maybe someone that was a major health nut and used their Apple Watch more on the line of a Fitbit. I had friends in high school and college getting Apple Watches for what exactly? They were working minimum wage bullshit jobs and hardly did their homework. I do also pay for the occasional adult worker, so to each their own, I guess. Story 93. Paying nearly double the price of a meal for one to have said meal delivered. Not only that, but putting in a high enough reward, paying a tip in advance just to have it delivered sooner. Story 94. In-game purchases in mindless mobile phone games. Yes, I play some of them just to disconnect from everything. No, I will not pay for stuff that will allow me to maybe complete a level easier. Story 95. I know it's been said 100 times already, but bottled water, what I haven't seen is the actual real solution. Like tap water and water filters or purifiers, they're just as big a ripoff as bottled water. As for the only actual solution that's 100% not a ripoff, why don't you purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka? Story 96. A brand new car payment or any car payment. My husband and I make good money and drive 12, 15-year-old cars that we bought for less than $10K each. We spend maybe a few hundred every year on maintenance, but have no monthly payments. Story 97. Subscription services for things that should not have subscriptions. My toaster better not ask for premium. Story 98. Hermes Birkin handbags that cost from tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. I hear that they're good quality, but nowhere near worth that much. People are paying that much for the status. Apparently, the bags are often very hard to get, BC. Even if you have the money, the store won't just let you buy one, so people have to prove themselves by spending tons of money in the store. Then the bag they get might not even be the one they wanted. Story 99. Food home deliveries. Why pay for otherwise mediocre food to be shaken up on the back of a bike, only to arrive at your door barely warm? Story 100. Meal delivery. It's sure convenient, but man, I can't justify all the extra fees and cost. Takeout food is expensive enough anymore. Story 101. Meet and greets with celebrities. Paying $300 for an awkward 10-second photo with someone who won't remember you exist. Story 102. Intimacy. I've gone to strip clubs as a social outing night out with friends, but I couldn't imagine actually paying someone for intimacy. Even at my loneliest, I've never felt like I needed intimacy affection that badly. Story 103. Renting friends. Quite a lucrative market, it seems, especially in Japan, as they're suffering a loneliness epidemic. Story 104. Basic car maintenance, changing oil, changing brakes, changing spark plugs, all things that I can do in 20 minutes because I enjoy wrench time. One socket and a ratchet wrench is like 15. That's an investment into saving time and money. Story 105. Getting your nails done professionally has never made any sense to me. Some people spend hundreds of dollars a month on nail services. It costs less than $1 per manicure to do them yourself at home. Story 106. Having my eyelashes, eyebrows, fingernails, and toenails done. I know people like those sorts of things, but I can't imagine paying for anything like that. Story 107. A tanning bed. It's basically paying to increase your chances of skin cancer, and most people with fake tans look hideous. Story 108. Haircuts. But it's more that I'm just stubborn and blessed that I developed the skill. The way I like to cut my hair would cost me $100 at a good salon. And since I know what I like better than they do, I probably would still have to fix it. It's been over 10 years since anyone else has cut my hair, so I guess I've saved thousands of dollars. And on coloring too. Story 109. I do my own finger and toenails. My wife cuts my hair. We enjoy better burgers and steaks at home, so those are never ordered when out. Story 110. There are dudes who are into findom, where they give women money for berating them and treating them like shoot. I would never pay for that when you can get that for free from any Latina. Story 111. Tinnitus. I find it wild that thousands of people will throw hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to buy tinnitus. Concerts in stadiums are unbelievably loud. I went to see Weird Al, wore earplugs, and still came out with my ears ringing. Story 112. Adult content, streamers, influencers, stuff. These people are the new snake salesmen laughing their way to the bank, providing nothing of value to society. Story 113. Paying people to fix all sorts of shit that a lot of people could probably do themselves just by watching a few YouTube videos. Some people just love giving away money. Story 114. High-end brand shoes, bags, clothes, sunglasses. Just why would you pay through your nose to walk around looking like a prat, thinking you are cool, but in reality doing free advertising for an overpriced item, and at the same time advertising that you are willing to pay way too much money for an item that isn't manufactured to the level of quality, by far, that the price would suggest? Story 115. Any watch that costs 4 figures or more, not just because I couldn't afford it, but because I think it's such a male body part waving thing to buy. Story 116. A boat. I love boats, but even with the money, I would not put myself through it. I would rather have friends with boats. Story 117. Umbrellas and sunglasses. The most lost items on the planet. I say this, though, as someone who works in hospitality and has access to the items that were left in the bar by last night's service. Story 118. Ordering food. I was and am still always willing to pick up food. I've never had a situation where it was unrealistic to pick up takeout if I wasn't planning on cooking or having food with me. Streaming subscriptions. Story 119. Most car repairs. It'll pay people to do work involving paint or coolant brake changes since it's a pain getting rid of that stuff. Story 120. Food delivery when you live within reasonable distance to the place. I've not used DoorDash or similar at all. Ever. Never will. Adult content. Donations to streamers. Clothes with a ton of branding. Why? You pay them and you advertise for them. How about they pay you? Story 121. Uber Eats or DoorDash. I don't want anyone handling my food or coming to where I live. Plus, I have heard that the wait can be long in food. Lukewarm fudge that. Story 122. Plastic surgery. I was so traumatized by a medically necessary surgery. Ain't no way I'm paying out of pocket, willingly going into surgery just to change the way I look. Story 123. The VIP lines at amusement parks. Paying 80 more just to overtake everyone. Never in your life. And yet, people buy it like it was nothing. Story 124. At this point, literally most things. The whole consumerism as a personality thing has gotten way out of hand. Story 125. Twitch YouTube shoutouts. I mean, I've donated for charity events because charity, but why are you throwing your money at millionaires? So maybe Senpai will notice you when you likely don't have your finances sorted yourself. Story 126. Source textures for digital design. I'm just someone who liked to doodle around with digital art. I am not paying 40 USD for a birchwood bark texture. And paying for digital design software, Adobe is a horrible company with predatory practices, and I refuse to give them money. In my years of using GIMP, there are only 2 things I wasn't able to replicate on it. I might feel differently if I was doing this professionally, and then I would expect my employers to be paying for it. Also, watermarks only stop people in a time crunch. Story 127. Tips on certain purchases and services. Everything is already so expensive. Before you respond, I tip well, especially for small business food and the like. Story 128. Listening to music. I stopped paying in 2001 and never looked back. Also, I can't do Spotify because I only listen to 30 seconds of a song, then skip to whatever catches my eye in the queue. Story 129. Delivery food I refuse. I'll do takeout every single time versus trusting someone to bring me my food in one piece and in a timely manner. Story 130. I don't spend money on a wish and a prayer. That includes gambling, lotteries, Nigerian princes, most warranties, or anything that I can't feel or see, politics, gambles, guesses, or promises. Story 131. Yearly fees for credit cards. Why would I pay money to access my own money? Chase has a travel credit card with a yearly fee of $800, which is insane. Story 132. Cigarettes, cigars, hookah, vapes, etc. Why do I need to put more pollution in my lungs outside of the air pollution it already receives? Story 133. Food delivery. It's always shoot, expensive and cold. Just go to a restaurant for the same price, or buy a TV dinner for 1/5 if you can't or won't cook. Story 134. I grew up with well water and a septic system, so I was taken back when I found out a lot of people pay for those things monthly. Story 135. Blind mystery boxes. You don't know what you're getting and then get upset when it's not the exact one you want. Story 136. Basic sandwiches at restaurants. I'm not talking about something unique or something with in-house made bread. I'm talking about something I could make out of the shoot that's in my refrigerator already. Story 137. Poop scooping. My sister has 3 dogs and pays someone to come to her house every week and scoop poop in the backyard. I also have 3 dogs. For a long time, it was 4 dogs, and find it wild that someone would pay for this weekly. If I stay on top of it weekly, it takes me 15, maybe 20 minutes to scoop poop in our yard. Our yard is 13 an acre, and if I had to guess, I would say my sister's is close to the same size. During the summer, I scoop twice a week. It's about 5 men each time. Very fast. Story 138. Getting any company to charge twice the price for anything. Generations a century ago would have been enraged at how easily people today spend their labor just have crap delivered a day earlier. Story 139. Dungeness crab? My husband and his buddies go crabbing 5 to 6 times per year. I saw the price of one at Costco. Story 140. Gaming apps for the phone. If I run out of free chances and the option comes up to pay for more, I just close that game out and find another one. Just not easy for me to accept that people pay for that fluff, lol. Story 141. Having more than 1 or 2 guns for self-protection. Outside of collectors or sportsmen, I cannot see why some people will buy another gun every other year or so. Whatever your feeling about them may be, they're just pretty expensive. Maybe it's just me, but 1 per adult is quite enough IMO. Story 142. Klarna. People are straight up financing fast food and shoot with it. Never used it, never will. It's so sad our society is so addicted to consuming like this. And there's so many people that think Klarna was created to help people. No, they are a predatory service that exploit the financial situation of the poor to make profits. Ugh. Story 143. Spending money or do a lot of quizzes to outfit via Stitching and Wizard 101 and Pirate 101. Never understand it. Story 144. Hard-boiled eggs. They are twice the price of the eggs you have to put in boiling water for a few minutes. Story 145. NSFW answer, but intimacy. Known a lot of people who regularly visit certain areas or subscribe to people's OF. Just never something that crossed my mind to do. Not opposed to it on moral grounds, and I've been approached by SWs in the past, but just never was something that crossed my mind to actually do. Story 146. Painting or cleaning services. I clean my house every day with a quarterly deep clean and paint my own walls because I enjoy it. Story 147. Any social media pro version of whatever, like Discord and YouTube, sure I get that. They're useful to a degree. Reddit and Twitter and shoot, the fudge are you doing? Story 148. A single large tomato at the grocery store for $4 something. It happened to me yesterday, paid for it, and still couldn't believe I did it, but really wanted it with my sandwich. Story 149. I can't think of anything more mind-numbingly boring than watching someone else play a video game. Never mind paying to watch. And paying for adult content, I guess. Story 150. Water. I don't buy something that comes free out of a tap. If I lived in Mexico or something, different story, but I don't. Story 151. Designer purses and shoes. Really any designer items that people buy more for status than for quality or better functionality. Story 152. Probably stupid, but doggy-do pick-uppers. My little sister did that last year when we were both living with our parents and I didn't get it. Or dogs are small and not many humans go in the yard. Story 153. A container of chopped up fruit or vegetables that would cost half if you just cut it up yourself. I know it's convenience that you're paying for, but I still can't justify it. Story 154. McMansions. We bought a home with a low mortgage and put a big chunk down. We will have paid off our home in 3 years when our kids are not yet done with high school. It will have taken 20 years to pay it off, which is still more than we had hoped for. At least we will be mortgage-free before age 50. We are comfortable and have no plans to move until retirement. Warmer and sunnier pastures are calling. I can't wait to superfund our nest egg. My retirement is going to be amazing, but I plan to work as I get to do what I love. Story 155. Bad plastic surgery like buccal fat removal. IDK, why people pay money to look older and more skeletal-like. Story 156. Parking. I dislike to pay for parking, and in Los Angeles that's getting harder and harder to pull off. Story 157. Replacing things, phone, car, that still work for a newer version just to end up in an endless loop of monthly payments. I use my phone till it breaks. I drive my car till I can't. Paid for both in cash and always will. Story 158. Makeup, hair, nails, eyebrows and eyelashes, skin treatments, plastic surgery. Basically, I see the whole beauty industry as a patriarchal hellscape meant to financially and physically disempower women. Like I scream internally while complimenting my coworkers' nails. Like, girl, you are behind on car payments, but yeah, nice fudge, 300 acrylics. I may have been raised by a second-wave feminist. Story 159. Cable TV. Like WF, you just have to watch what they decide to show you at the time and watch ads and all that shoot. You pay good money for that? You can have multiple streaming services for the price of basic cable where I'm at. Makes no sense to me. Story 160. Daily coffee runs to Starbucks, kiosks, etc. Not trashing millennials with the typical dig. Just insane how people don't brew their own and take in a travel mug. Cost difference of like 50x. Story 161. Strippers. You're literally paying to be blue-balled. Like, I get it, some guys are lonely and like the attention, but man, oh man, there are cheaper ways to get it. Story 162. Going to a sports game. Baseball, football, soccer, basketball. Lots of insane parking. You can watch the highlights on the news, FFs. Also, Disneyland. You'd have to pay me to go there. Story 163. Literally any information whatsoever. Do not go to college just to learn. You can do that for free. The reason you should go to college if you do is because you're going into a lucrative field and you want a robust network and resources towards that end. If all you want is to learn information and skills, don't pay for that. It's all out there for free, and it's all the same resources you would be expected to use by professors with minimal guidance anyway. Story 164. A case of bottled water. I might rarely buy a bottle if I'm out somewhere, but I just use a pitcher with a filter for drinking water. Story 165. DoorDash, Grubhub, Instacart, and Hulu, Netflix, Crunchyroll, Disney. I'd rather do my own shopping, order food face-to-face, or over the phone and get it myself on the rare chance I order out. And I've successfully been sailing the 7 seas for over 20 years. I pay for regular Prime for the shipping, but I haven't been ordering much lately, so I'm likely not going to renew next summer. Story 166. Bartender at a bar and grill. We do the serving, also. I have two regulars, and they order 2x grilled cheese. One eats the grilled cheese and the other wants the fries. I very drunkenly made a grilled cheese last night. It's the exoest fudge thing to sew. Last time they were in, they said they were just going to a fan's place to game and save some money. Guess how much they tip, lol. Story 167. Pretty much anything having to do with the wedding industry is exorbitantly expensive. I couldn't believe the prices when being quoted for the venue, cake, photographer, the church, dresses and tuxedos, the rings, the fudge props, etc. Fudge absurd that people are willing to go into massive debt for a wedding. Answer, wedding photographer here. I agree 100 about the industry being overpriced. You don't actually need me for a full day. Please save some money. But there are actual reasons most of the time why something would cost more in the scope of a wedding than, say, a birthday party or retirement party. A lot of people trying to save money and bring costs down on their wedding day are the most difficult clients and most likely to complain or leave poor reviews. There are definitely people who are happy to pick up their own flowers and make their own bouquets. But if you ask a florist for some simple bouquets for vases, and then they find out the bridesmaids will be carrying them, the florist is going to be a bit pissed about that. Bridesmaids' bouquets are wrapped tightly and organized to be on display and moved around often. This requires more effort on the florist's part than any other scenario. The same can be said for hair and makeup. I've seen brides' hair fall apart halfway through a day because they went to a standard salon and not someone who knows how to make it keep going through 10 hours in the heat of summer. Catering can also be more expensive because it requires more people to handle the food and answer the demands of guests. This is also similar to venues. A wedding tends to carry different demands that require more staff, and thus it will cost more than, say, a birthday party. In general, nearly every vendor performs differently during a wedding because we often receive new business from people watching us perform. But I did say the industry is overpriced, right? Here's how you can save money. 1. Buy flowers in bulk from a supermarket and make your own bouquets or centerpieces. The cost of a florist includes labor of putting things together and delivery. If you cut that out, it saves money. 2. Rent a food truck for food or order it from a restaurant and pick it up. Wedding catering costs a lot because of delivery and staff needed to handle the food and waste disposal. If you cut out a lot of the labor, it saves money. 3. Book a municipal building at any local park or use a family member or friend's backyard. Again, full-time venues require staff. Little to no staff save money. 4. Don't invite your guests to the entire day. Needing a place and a bunch of chairs for the ceremony costs money, and most people show up for the casual part of the day. Do your ceremony elopement style and just have your guests show up to a reception. 5. Have your DJ be a playlist on a phone. 6. Skip the wedding party. They don't need suits, dresses, or flowers. You save money, they still get to show up and have an awesome time. Here is what you absolutely should not do. Hire vendors that are required to be present for large parts of the day, DJ, photographer, and don't tell them it's a wedding and let them find out when they show up. The preparation I go through to do a good job for my clients is wildly different for a wedding than if I was hired for a corporate event. Story 168. Gasoline. I just got gas this morning for $7 a gallon. It was the lowest grade. I only needed a 12 tank, and it cost me $61. And my friends wonder why I don't go anywhere anymore or do the weekend trips I used to do. Story 169. Melamine sponges, aka magic erasers. They can be bought online in bulk by the thousands. Oil changes. A dealership can easily charge $250 USD for an oil change that another dealer will charge $70 for. McDonald's. Yeah, it's convenient, but at current prices, the food served there costs the exact same as many fast casual restaurants, whom have superior food quality and better service. USB flash drives. People will pay out the nose for a 128 GB USB drive with terrible speeds. For $70, you can buy an Orico case and a cheap NVMe and get 10 gigabits second speeds, all in a package you can upgrade later. 2. 5-inch hard drives. You can buy them cheap on eBay, and if you want an external hard disk drive, an external USB 3. 0 case is maybe $9 USD. Textbooks for school, anything to do with a wedding, pharmaceuticals, sutos. Generics are fine except in a very small handful of cases, and your doctor would tell you this. Yet older people at the pharmacy will insist on brand name for some reason. Younger folks in the pharmacy line never seem to care. DoorDash, Grubhub, etc. I dislike their business model, and I've had too many problems when others order on my behalf. Everything is nickel and dime to infinity, and there's always another charge. Adult toys? Go to Intimacy Store, and a certain toy is 50 USD. You can buy the exact same fudge toy on Amazon in a 3-pack for 20 USD. Answer, please, for the love of God, don't order intimacy toys on Amazon. Amazon is not required to accurately list the materials. Intimacy toys aren't regulated, so this can lead to them selling you sketchy toys that will leach VOCs into your body. There have also been cases of them reselling toys that have been used and returned. Not to mention that the cheap toys from Amazon will stop working way faster than the legit stuff. If you go to an actual store, you can usually feel the material and get a sense of if it's real silicone or not. They also usually have some demo toys out, so you can see if you like the vibration strength before you drop $60 on it. Some really good stores will even have you unbox your toy right after you buy it so they can make sure it works and isn't defective before they send it home with you. Yes, it costs, but by God, it's worth it. Story 170. Magic cards. Although a lot of people had an eye-opening moment recently when they announced the 1030th anniversary edition, basically random cards, most likely bad, that you aren't even allowed to play in sanctioned events. A lot of players realized they were actually being harmful behavior by a company selling cardboard. Story 171. Appliances. Take away all the connectivity gadgets and the basics have hardly changed at all in the last 25 years or so, maybe more. A refrigerator is still an insulated box with a compressor. An oven is still an insulated box with heating coils. Story 172. Red Bull. You can buy energy drinks that taste almost completely the same for a fraction of the price. Story 173. Anything from Louis Vuitton. I don't see the point of wasting thousands of dollars for bags you can get everywhere else. Story 174. Designer purses. It's one thing if they are well-crafted in a design that you're passionate about, but they are just mass-produced and are no longer art. And yet I have like 12. Story 175. Childcare in China is expensive to the point where, combined with the history one-child policy, caring for children is a luxury only the wealthiest people can afford, and the population is expected to nosedive in the future. It's bad to the point where the government is freaking out about how they're going to sustain their society. Story 176. Drinks at a restaurant, paying $10.15 for one worth of adult beverage, or like $12 for a cheap glass of wine. Story 177. Owen Energy. It's fudge-free provided by the earth, yet people everywhere are going to freeze this winter because of how expensive gas and electric is. The elites are shameless, the rich get richer, and the poor freeze to passing. Answer, it isn't free. Energy exists in the universe in various forms, but capturing it and making that captured energy do useful work requires capital investment into machinery and skilled persons. You want to extract geothermal energy? You need to hire a company to bore holes, prospect good sites, and drill, then buy machinery to drive steam into the earth that can be harnessed to drive turbines. Solar? Buy lease panels and make sure they are clean. Petroleum requires pumping out, transport to a refinery, and transport to last mile. Energy will never be free. Even when we have Dyson spheres, we'll still have to store and manage the energy we capture from the sun. Story 178. Gasoline and smartphones. Both are almost necessities at this point, but they're both ridiculously overpriced. Story 179. Flowers and balloons. I'm a florist, and it never ceases to amaze me how much people are willing to spend on something that will die in a few days and/or bags full of helium. I also work in a wealthy area, so my clientele is able to flippantly spend this money on the most pointless occasions. Every little luncheon they host must have a 75 centerpiece at every table and multiple 50 balloon bouquets for some reason. The events these people host are only ever actually celebrating something about 30 of the time. The other 70 is just them trying to impress their other rich friends. I had one customer order a 125 arrangement to mockingly send to someone. The recipient of the flowers was the mother of a girl who was fighting with the customer's daughter at school. The lady had me write out some petty jerk message about how Susie looks forward to many years of beautiful friendship with Sally, or something like that. An adult spending $125 to $15 delivery fee on a child's drama. Story 180. Gold and those kind of metals. Oh, for that matter, don't see why they are priced this high. Like, is there some underlying use or what? Story 181. Wedding-related items. If you don't call it a wedding, all of a sudden the location, the catering, and everything else are half off. It's crazy. Just get white items, avoid wedding stores as well. Everything is outrageously overpriced. Do your bridesmaids a favor and possibly arrange the wedding for the off-season after prom. Bridesmaid dresses are ridiculously cheap everywhere and everywhere. Ugh. Story 182. Petrol gasoline. It's a necessary evil, though. Can't afford an electric car, and cycling to work is unrealistic. Story 183. The adult Happy Meal. I mean, I won't lie. I bought one and the toy is kind of worth it, but still it's overpriced as hell. Story 184. Brand name clothing. Even if I had all the money in the world, I wouldn't spend $1,000 on a pair of jeans because I don't like getting ripped off. Materials and labor don't cost even remotely close to $1,000. You're literally just paying for the name, which is the height of dumb. Story 185. Ben Jerry's. Store brand ice cream is better, and $13.12 the price. The mix-ins are similarly low quality. It'd be cheaper and better to buy stuff on the candy aisle and mix it into a 1.5 quart container, and as a bonus, you get to pick your favorites. Story 186. The storm of business for Dash, Uber Eats, etc. is insane. I don't think the average user understands how much money is being pissed away. Story 187. I dislike to say it, but Chick-fil-A breakfast. Why are a mini biscuit and a chicken nugget more than $1? I grit my teeth when it was just at 80 cents, but now it's really painful. Story 188. Literally everything. Things cost barely nothing. They just ask you to pay what you are willing to pay. Story 189. Designer clothes and shoes. I like nice stuff, but if I have to walk like a penguin to not crease the shoes or wear a shirt a handful of times, it completely defeats the purpose. Story 190. Any Apple product, literally any. My fiance has an iPhone and their phone bill is over $100 a month. I have my own Android phone with unlimited texting and calling for only $25 a month. Story 191. Monster cable. That HDMI cable that came with your monitor or TV is just as good as the double reinforced gold-plated titanium made on the moon cable that will cause 3 figures. Story 192. What contractors charge for literally anything over the last year. Straight up doubled in cost to have anything done for you. Story 193. Just got back from a higher-end clothing department store, and I cannot fathom why people buy 500 belts. Story 194. Funerals. The coffin is going to be buried. A simple pine box, please. Or just wander off in the woods when it is your time and let the coyotes eat you. Story 195. Drawing tablets. Wacom is so overpriced, it's insane, but nonetheless, I still buy from them because it's a safe bet. But God, those things have no right to be as pricey as they are. Story 196. Very specifically, Cadbury's Almond Chocolate Bar. IDK anyone who's buying them except me, and yet here I am spending $2.50 on a bar when the normal bars, caramel, etc. for that size are $1.50, and I just keep getting them. Story 197. Cell phone service. Most people don't seem to realize that Verizon, AT&T, and other big cell companies are charging a huge premium for the exact same service on the same networks that you can get with prepaid services like Mint and Metro PCS. Story 198. High cost of prescriptions in this country. People need them, but it can be difficult to afford, even with insurance. Story 199. DoorDash. The menu prices are marked up. They have a service fee, a delivery fee, and that isn't including tip. It usually ends up being 10 before tip extra to use DoorDash. Story 200. Literally anything designer. I can't reason with a person who will spend $1,000 on shoes and even more on fancy cars and such. Like you're literally spending money to devalue your money over time. Such wasteful thinking, and it's a shame that that is the goal of many. Story 201. Delivery of food. When COVID first started, harmful behavior Uber Eats. I stopped when I realized it was too expensive, but every now and again, I go a full week of Uber Eats. Story 202. Stance socks. I've never seen the point in paying $25.35 for one pair of socks you can only wear once. Ridiculous if you ask me. Story 203. God darn. I went to McDonald's today. The combo meals were $20. There is no way a Big Mac, fries, and a Coke cost that much to make. Story 204. To quote Leonard Nimoy's voiceover in Civ 4, something is worth whatever someone will pay for it. That being said, bottled water is massively overpriced. Printer ink is insanely overpriced. Diamonds are insanely overpriced. Story 205. Modern cars, iPhones, name brand clothes, and shoes, jewelry. These things are all either overpriced, a waste of money, or both. Story 206. Almost all luxury or designer items, especially handbags, wallets, perfume, makeup, skincare, and hair care is debatable depending on the product in question. Some drugstore are better that high-end, and some high-end stuff blows the drugstore out of the water. But the perception that luxury labels are worth the price. Story 207. Lobsters, they're bottom-feeding ugly creatures that used to be given to people in prison. While I'm on the food subject, the same goes for chicken wings. They are the scraps of the chicken, and now you pay $15 for 10. Absurd. Story 208. Graphics cards. The PCMR subreddit in a majority of PC users is absolutely flaming. NVIDIA's 40 series cards, and it's sold out within seconds of release. Story 209. High-end computer graphics cards. The people over at Build APC act like they have to pay $1,300 for the best GPU ever made, or they'll die of low FPS. Story 210. Warhammer is ridiculously overpriced. Every time I consider playing it again, or just buying some models to paint, it's gone up again. Story 211. In Canada, it's definitely mobile phone service. We are charged the highest rates in the world. Thank you, CRTC. Story 212. Perfume. I heard a radio commercial where a small bottle of some celebs new perfume was $80. I can get a whole bottle of nice scotch, 10-14 years, for that. Story 213. Coffee like Starbucks, Caldas, etc. Especially now that they have Keurigs, I'm surprised they all aren't out of business. Story 214. Coffee like Starbucks, Caldas, etc. Especially now that they have Keurigs, I'm surprised they all aren't out of business. Story 215. Coffee like Starbucks, Caldas, etc. Especially now that they have Keurigs, I'm surprised they all aren't out of business. Story 216. Coffee like Starbucks, Caldas, etc. Especially now that they have Keurigs, I'm surprised they all aren't out of business. Story 217. I knew I would find the answer Apple products in here, and honestly, after recently buying a flagship Samsung device, Apple products seem fairly priced. Story 218. Most definitely the PS5 and new Xbox because they really only have faster load times and better graphics. Story 219. Sneakers, they're made by slave labor. They're probably cheap as hell. You're just paying for the name brand, especially Jordans. Story 220. Fancy sneakers, egg skaters. They're sneakers. Proper exercise running shoes, sure, will pay for good support. But brand versions of cheap shoes costing $100? Nah. Story 221. iPhones, it's ridiculous how much they cost now. I rather consider going back to flip phones that last 10 years. They are literally unbreakable. Too bahaha. Story 222. Products that are listed female but are the same as the male products, but it's pink and more expensive. Example, men's, $5.99. Women's, $8.99. I saw this pricing for a pair of gloves at a store. Story 223. Branded shirts. Why should I pay $20 for a white t-shirt with the brand name on the front, and $20 is for the cheap ones? Story 224. Fast food. I mean, before you even judge me, just think about it. Fast foods are so expensive, especially in the Middle East. For each meal, you will have to pay at least $12, which is a lot if you think about it. Story 225. RTX 4090. They are obscenely and irrationally overpriced, and yet they sold out worldwide yesterday in minutes. Of course I bought one. Story 226. Funeral industry. Wildly expensive. Just buy a cheap wooden boat, fill it with anything that burns well, tuck me in it, push it out into the water, and set me ablaze. Story 227. Housing, but unfortunately it's not an option. In the town I live, a 2-bed flat in a really bad area that needs a lot of work done is $240, and a very standard 4-bed detached I've seen going over $900. It's actually ridiculous. Story 228. Apple anything. It's certainly convenient, especially if you already use Apple products and you have all your information on there. But ONEC for a cell phone is crazy EMO. Story 229. Vacations. It's the one thing we pay for that is a total financial loss. Super expensive, but totally worth it. Story 230. I want to say Apple computers, but they are so well built that the price is kind of fair and justified. That's it for this video. Don't forget to support Vancher and my second channel, Vanchus. See you soon.